Hey, it's Anna. I am hanging out here with my friend Kate, who is in Hawaii. This is hilarious because I'm in Chicago and it's like dark already. And she's in like this sunny tropical island. But I am really excited to talk with her about the coffee farm and the coffee business that she runs in Hawaii. And this is so cool because Kate and I have known each other for like 10 years. It's been like more than that since like 2000. When did we meet? Like
Oh,
2000.
like 2005.
Yeah, 2005. So we met in college. We went on an alternative spring break mission trip together. And I remember driving in this big white van from Illinois to Mississippi. It was like right after Hurricane Katrina. And my first impression of Kate was like, I'm like the super introverted, shy person, and she's like the complete opposite. And so I remember her like taking up this whole seat in the van, like spreading out and sleeping, and just like being super like aggressively friendly. This puppy, and I was like, this girl. And then we ended up becoming really good friends, and she ended up actually introducing me to the guy who is now my husband. So thanks, Kate.
You're welcome.
But for the last few years, she has been living in Hawaii. And so, Kate, I just like really want to hear about your story and how you ended up doing what you do. So could you tell us, maybe let's start with where you are right now and what you're doing.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'm at my house right now. I'm at my farm. I'm a coffee farmer on the Big Island of Hawaii, just outside of Kona. The farm I own is called Sunshower Farms, and I own it with my husband, Doug. But I'm the only one really who works here, the only full-time employee. He works for an airline in their accounting department. So mostly it's just me a lot of the time. We have 20 acres, but only 8 of those are coffee. We have like 6 acres with some goats, and then we have a little space for chickens, and we have bees, sort of. I mean, some of them kind of flew away. We're trying. Yeah, so we have bees, and we had ducks, but they weren't laying eggs. We gave them away, so we don't have ducks anymore. But right now, we just have dogs, cats, chickens, and goats.
Just like living off the land.
Sort of. I mean, I went to Costco today. So it's not like totally,
Not like the wilderness.
totally sustainable. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, and I'm outside. I'm on the deck. I'm out here because it's like pretty dark inside right now.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know. And there's like some people in there doing stuff. So I didn't want it to be too loud, but I can try and show you. This is like,
Yeah.
you can sort of see. There's my dog, one of them. Hi, Bells. And then, yeah, it goes like that way. And that's the ocean behind me.
Oh my
You
God.
can't really tell. Yeah.
Ridiculous. That's so pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get to where you're at today? Like
Kind of
let's
roundabout way.
let's
Well,
talk
you
about like
probably,
start with just
but
give
yeah.
us like the rundown of like college, what'd you major in?
Yeah. So in college, I was a triple major in philosophy, political science, and public administration. None of those really work for my current job. I didn't take like any science. Well, I took like a very poorly chosen physics class and and geology. Um, so yeah, not really a lot in college towards what I'm doing now, which is like mostly science based, and then also like a fair bit of like marketing, small business stuff, which I also didn't learn in college. So a lot of that was kind of like you just learn on the fly. Then after school, I went to law school at Notre Dame. And after law school, I practiced for a couple years and kind of like jumped around for a bunch of different jobs. It was like right in 2011 when I got out, there were like not a lot of lawyer jobs. So no one was really getting their first choice. And even though I had employment the whole time, it was kind of just like never exactly what I wanted to do. And I was just really dissatisfied. I wasn't sure that I didn't want to be a lawyer anymore. I just like didn't like any job that I had. And my then fiance, now husband, he was a trader in Chicago too. He was a proprietary interest rate futures trader. So, and sometimes he had to work overnight. He traded European interest rates, and then like he just always had a really bad schedule. And he also hated his job and felt like really unhealthy. He never went outside. I mean, like if you work overnight in Chicago in the winter, you literally never see the sun. You would go to work in the morning or like at night at like 11 and work until the morning. I don't know, like 6 a.m. usually, come home, it's still dark outside, go to sleep, and then like wake up and it's dark outside and go to work. So it's not really the best work-life balance, I would say, or lifestyle. So both of us wanted to move, and we decided to move to Hawaii. And then when we moved here, we were thinking like, oh, maybe we'll just rent a place. We didn't really know what we were going to do. And we started looking at some rentals, and they're all really expensive because Hawaii has an interesting tax system where owner occupied is taxed the lowest. It's like hardly taxed at all. Our whole farm is only like $1,200 of taxes a year. Whereas like Doug's parents' parking space in Chicago is like more taxes than our entire farm. That's because crazy. We're taxed the lowest, whereas like hotels are taxed the highest. In the middle of that would be like apartments that are rented and stuff. So the tax system is to encourage owner occupiers, like people who live here all year round, instead of just timeshares and like that kind of thing. Anyway, so we were like, well, why don't we just consider buying? So then we started looking at places to buy, and the place we really fell in love with was 20 acres, and it was zoned ag. And so we're like, oh, well, let's just start a farm. That was basically it.
So you had no idea what you're getting yourselves into. You just decided, hey, let's just move to Hawaii because living in Chicago is sucking the life out of us.
Yeah, I mean, I think that something a lot of people are afraid to do at any point in their life, but certainly in their 20s, is to just move. Mm-hmm. There's no reason not to. I mean, we didn't have kids. We didn't have pets. I mean, now we have dogs, but at that point we had no pets, no kids. It's just like, why wouldn't we just move? Mm-hmm. We don't really have the opportunity, and we didn't own a house either. So it's like, later in life, you get more and more things tying you down. You know, you own property, you have pets, you have a job that maybe can't move, or like not as much flexibility in your career. You have more bills and things like that. But we were in a good position to just be like, all right, let's just do something different.
Did you just trust that when you landed, you'd figure out what you were going to do in Hawaii?
Yeah, I mean, we rented a 1-month Airbnb. And yeah, I don't know. At the time, I was still working for the firm I was working for in Chicago. I was telecommuting, but like that wasn't going to last forever, I knew, but it did give us like a little bit of cushion, a few months. And to be honest, like Doug's job in Chicago was very high paying. And part of the reason we were able to move was because he had a vested bonus, which means like each year, say you get a bonus this year, like he would get half of it this year, and then a quarter the next year, and a quarter the year after that. So we already knew like some money that we would have coming in. I mean, it wasn't like enough to support us, but it was certainly enough to be like, okay, we'll be fine. Like nothing terrible is going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even if we hadn't had that, like we couldn't have bought this farm probably, but we certainly still could have moved. Like I think that people think, you know, it takes a lot of money to move. And sometimes it does, depending on how much stuff you want to move. But if you're willing to just, you know, go with a few things and sell everything else on Craigslist, it doesn't really take that much money.
Yeah. And that's why I've always been inspired by you, just because you are such an action taker. You're just kind of like, let's just do this and see what happens. And then you go for it. And it always works out. And it's like, I feel like it's a reminder that staying stuck or like staying where you're at is just as much of a risk or a choice as trying something new.
Right.
Because it's like, even if you had...
And I remember telling you that too when you were going to start out
your
new business. Like, you know, doing nothing is a choice as well. So sometimes it feels scary to pull the trigger on something new, but it's like you're making a choice one way or the other. It's not like one is doing something and the other... I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of people look at it like, oh, they just keep staying the same because it's easier. They have momentum that way. But it's not a good reason to do something just because you have momentum behind it.
Yeah. And I think something we don't think about is that just like staying with your job I feel like a lot of people think, oh, well, my job is secure. And it's like, I want the security of my job. I don't want to leave it. But like, that's not really secure, because I have so many friends who have lost their jobs and then they're forced to move. And it's like, I think it's cool to move when you have the agency and when you have the control and the choice, and you can empower yourself to do something out of choice instead of out of like desperation or last minute scrambling because a mini catastrophe happened. So, yeah.
And I think it's important to know, and this was like something you were going through when you were quitting your job at the zoo, and also for me quitting my job as a lawyer, is like when you've put so much time and effort into a graduate degree, especially, you're like you feel there's like a fallacy of sunk costs. Like you've already put so much time and cost into something, to working towards a goal, that you think you need to continue with it even if you're not happy. And I really think that's something that people need to be really careful considering, because it's just like, just because you made one mistake does not mean you should continue making it. Like, I don't necessarily consider my law degree a mistake. Maybe a little bit. Like, I mean, it put me where I am in my life now. But if I do, I think that it was something worthwhile for me currently. I mean, sort of. Like, not really, you know? And I feel like for your geography degree, like, you know, it gave you the life you have now. It was a formative experience for you. But, like, do you use those skills, you know, day to day? Probably not that much. And it's important to not think like, oh, I spent so much time, I spent so much money on this degree, I have to use it. You don't have to do anything. And like, just because you've made one mistake does not mean you should just keep doing it and piling on. I think that's the biggest mistake people who have graduate degrees make, and also who don't like their jobs. And also, like, something to realize is that any degree in any field at that level is preparing you for lots of different careers.
Right.
Just like with the reading and skills and like the time management and organization, like you can take those skills anywhere.
Yeah. And I don't even think that getting a degree or having a job that is going to teach you life skills and give you life experience is a mistake, even if it doesn't end up being related to what you do. But I totally, I think it's a really cool concept, or a really important concept, is that, what is it called? The fallacy
of sunk cost.
The fallacy of sunk cost.
Cost fallacy.
Yeah.
That you've like already put, it's like when you're playing poker.
Yeah.
You've already like bet so much that you have to like keep betting, but like you don't have to. You can just.
Right. It's so applicable to everything in life, even with like eating or emotional eating. It's like, oh, well, I ate a piece of cake, so the rest of the day is shot. So I'm just going to keep eating crap. And just, you know, it's like with anything, but it's totally this idea that, oh, I'm stuck, or, oh, I have a degree in X, Y, and Z, and a bunch of debt and a bunch of experience from X, Y, and Z. So I have to stay stuck in this field to make it worth it. That's a lie. You don't have to.
You do if you feel the need to make it worth it. But like, it's worth it for other reasons when you think about it. Like, I, you know, really enjoyed my time in law school, and I made like so many wonderful friends and all these other things. So it's like, that alone probably makes it worth it. I mean, I met my husband Doug through someone from Augustana. So, but I might not have met him at all if I hadn't been in law school. It's like, you know,
the situational thing. Yeah. And it's like with me, with the stuff I learned in grad school, it's like, I know how to write, I know how to present, I know how to argue, I know how to think, I know how to teach. I know how to perform under pressure and under deadlines. I know how to live by myself and be independent. And it's like, there's a really cool book I like called Body of Work. And I don't know who it's by, but it's all about how everything you do in life contributes to your life's body of work. And it all comes together and creates you into the person that you are. And so
would I recommend to someone who wants to be a coffee farmer to go to law school first? No,
not necessarily.
But no, but you know, it doesn't mean it was a bad. Like, it doesn't mean that my life is full of regret now.
Well, it was the logical next step for where you were at the time. You know, it sounded good. It was like, oh, I'll do this, and it, you know, that was then. And it's like, I feel like we have to just kind of look at where we're at and think about, okay, like, what's my next step from here? I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to have everything figured out and to have like our whole career and our whole like trajectory of life figured out, when it's like, who knows what's going to happen? Because you never know. And just have to do what feels good, and just kind of trust that the details will fall into place and that we'll end up where we're meant to be at that time. I don't know. I'm a big fan of people.
I can turn.
Feel free to move. Yeah. So you're seriously like, I think this is just your personality, but I feel like you're one of the most courageous people I know, just because you do go for things. It's like, even in college, you would just like talk to guys, or you'd be like, oh, why don't you like ask him out? Or like, why don't you do this? And it just made me, I'd be just like, oh, blah, 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 blah. You'd be like, just why not? And so did you, like, when you were deciding to move to Hawaii and kind of like shift and pivot? Or even like after you moved to Hawaii, when you decided to buy the farm, did you ever face
Right.
fears or any doubts, or did you just know it felt
I
good?
mean, no, but also like that's in some ways that's kind of a bad thing. Like I think that it would have been better if I was a little bit more cautious in some ways. I'm not saying I shouldn't have started my farm, but I was not scared of a lot of things that I probably should have, like, not that we're like anywhere near facing bankruptcy or anything, but like that should have been something I thought of, like,
Yeah.
what if we go bankrupt? Like a fear of mine, that was not a fear of mine. Thankfully, it was a fear of my husband's who like made sure that did not happen. But I feel like if it wasn't, I don't think that I really understood like all the realities of the negative consequences that could come from starting a business and relying on it so heavily. That said, you can't let your fears dictate your whole life. So even if I had been afraid of those things, I think we still would have done it. I think I still would have done it because there's risk associated with everything, especially with just staying the same. And like you were saying, your job or whatever isn't necessarily secure. And not that this farm is going to get us rich, but there's something so satisfying about working for yourself. And that every day when you go to work, the work you put in is benefit for you. It's like if you bust your maybe someone will notice, maybe you'll get a promotion, but like, are there going to be any benefits to you, like as far as money or time off? Is someone going to say like, oh, you did such a great job, so you get to have extra amount of time off? Or are they going to say you finished all your work early so you can go home? Because at my job, that never was the case. If I finish all my work early, well, then find something else to do or like look at blogs for a few hours because you have to stay until the end of the day. And that's like not how it is here at all. If I want to take a vacation, like I went to Vietnam this summer with one of my friends, and I just made sure I got all my work done before I went and had everything set up for the people who were covering for me while I was gone. And then when I got back, I had more work to do, but it was like I could do that myself. And I think that is like a huge benefit that almost like it's invaluable. You can't really put a dollar amount to me on that kind of flexibility and like ability to dictate how you want your life to be, how you want your day to be. Like if each morning, if you want to spend an hour laying in your bed, waking up, which I do, you can do that because you own your own business. And if you want to get up really early, like Anna, before the sun rises, you can also do that. I don't know why you would want to, but yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned since starting your own business?
You mean lessons advice I would give for other entrepreneurs?
Yeah,
Or like,
either advice or just like stuff that you've overcome or things you wish you had known.
yeah, well, I mean, there's so much I've learned just about like the science behind growing
Mm-hmm.
food, that I don't really want to like go into all that stuff, but that's like the biggest things I've learned is really like how to farm day to day, like what things need to be done, soil science, stuff that, like it's just very specific that you don't learn in college unless you're like some sort of science major, or plant sciences or something, or ag. So those things. But as far as for other small business owners or other entrepreneurs, something that I try to do is like too many things at once, I think. In some ways that's good because you can spread yourself out into different, it's like you're just like throwing stuff at the wall and then whatever sticks is like where you're going to focus, which in some ways that's really good. Like when we first started, we started growing tons of different crops to sell the farmer's market. And then whatever people were buying, we focused in on. That part makes sense. But on the other hand, it can spread you a little bit too thin and you're not doing anything well. Like we do at our farm, we do events, we do weddings and birthdays and stuff like that. We actually have a bridal shower tonight. So as soon as I get off the phone here, I'm going to do the flowers for that. So like we do flowers for events. We do all of our different animal stuff. We do a homebrew store. We own the store that sells supplies for people who make beer. And then we also have our coffee farm, which is like our main cash generator. And then like in there, we also did a time where we were like making bagels for the farmer's market in our wood-fired oven, and we were making breads and stuff. Like we've kind of done a bunch of different things. And, we've really had to cut out a lot of those aspects of the farm because we weren't doing everything well. And also there's when you're very first starting out, there's the amount of time it takes to learn something new when you're first starting out. As you get better and better at it, obviously it goes down. But at the beginning, so say you want to learn to make bagels to bring to the farmer's market, there is a big adjustment at the beginning when you're learning how to make them, trying all the trials, like doing all the stuff. So you're putting in a lot of time to develop a new product or new profit stream. And then if it doesn't work out, then all that time is for nothing. So it's like you have to decide how much time you can devote. Like you need to consider your time as money and not just say, oh, I'll try this. I think that the things we've been really successful at is where we've started out small and over time made adjustments. And as we've earned things, we get bigger and bigger. So like when we first started out, we were given a lot of advice from people to buy a tractor. We did not buy a tractor at the beginning because we couldn't afford one. Tractors are very expensive, which I did not know. They're like thousands of dollars. So we're like, I was like, oh yeah, we can get a tractor.
Tractors are expensive.
Yeah, tractors are expensive. They're like $40,000 for a good one. So you're like, okay, I can't afford a tractor at the beginning. But a lot of people are like, no, you really need a tractor to do all these different things. And what Doug said to me was like, we really need to earn this tractor through like sales before we can afford to buy it. And then this year was the very first year and also like find out where the tractor would save us money, calculate that out, and then decide if it was like going to overall earn us money. Because for a while we were paying for all of our mowing. This isn't that helpful, but we were paying for all the tractor things that tractors do.
Right.
We're paying for a tractor guy to come and tractor. Right. And for a while that actually made the most sense for us financially. But then this year we got to a point where actually buying a tractor would be a better financial choice. And so we bought the tractor. It wasn't like, oh, we're a farm, so we need a tractor.
Right. Well, congrats on earning the tractor.
But I think to put that into like a non-tractor metaphor for people, it could be like, say you're starting a blog and you really think you need like the best camera because all the good blogs like have that best camera. Yeah. You need to earn that camera for yourself. Like you need to start out with your iPhone and like edit the crap out of those, over time until you have enough followers and enough ad revenue or whatever that you can buy the camera for yourself. You shouldn't just be like from 0 to 60 just because that's like what you think you should be doing for your industry. It's always best to grow organically. Like when you can afford something, you buy the next thing. Yeah. And if you do that, that is like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
I think.
So just like start with where you're at and what you have and allow yourself the time you need to grow into where you want to be.
Right. I think that people look at the people they want to be. They look at their, like, what do you call them? Like idols or something?
Yeah. It's like comparisonitis because we see people at the top of the success curve and we don't see the 10 years they've worked their asses off to get there. And so we just assume that there's this like huge gap between where we are and where we want to be. And we need to like immediately close it or we're a failure.
Like, for me as a farmer, I mean, I don't know if this applies exactly to every industry, but there's like a lot of things I'm looking at like, oh, they have X. Like, okay, they have the attachment to their ATV that can like wheelbarrow this stuff. Yeah. I realize this is like not relevant to like any other industry.
I think it's applicable though, because it's the same stuff. It's like, what do you need versus what do you want and think would be good?
Right. Like, I mean, shoveling gravel into your wheelbarrow and wheeling it over to where it needs to go and unshoveling it is the worst. But if you can't afford a tractor to scoop it for you, then like, that's what you have to do until you can afford one. You can't just like, be like, well, all the other people have them. And like, I remember one of the ag majors we had working for us when we very first started was like, well, do you want to be a real farm, like a real business farm? And like implying that like, this was sort of about the tractor, but it was about a few other things too. And I'm like, look, well, first of all, she kind of sucked, but also like she had worked for her whole life and had all her internships and everything. And like farms that had been established for many, many years. And they like had all this equipment and all these great things. And like, we didn't have that and we couldn't afford that. And it's not like, it doesn't make you any less of a real business or a real entrepreneur to know your limits and to not like get into.
Yeah. And live and work within your means too. Yeah. You're still legit.
Hold on one second. Sorry, I'm on the call for work. Can I get it to next week or or I can tomorrow or something too, but
it's okay.
I can send it with Doug. Let me just talk to you. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, I think that was the end of my point anyway.
Yeah. So what would you tell anyone who is thinking about making a big pivot in their life?
I think, it might be good to like write down a pro con list, but I would say if you do that, make it like a weighted one, because you might only have like one pro on the pro side, but maybe that's like the most important thing. And you really need to think about your happiness. I think that is like, just like being happier is sometimes seen as something like, oh, I've seen a lot of quotes where people are like, oh, happiness is something you create for yourself and blah, blah, blah. And you can find happiness in any situation. And to some extent, I think that that's true, but also it isn't. Like if there's something in your life that's consistently bringing you down, cut that thing out. If it's always, if it's just weighing on you, like for example, in Chicago, like the weather just like was bringing me down, it just, the darkness all the time. Like the year we left was like the snowpocalypse year, which was like where Lakeshore Drive, everyone got stuck and like all the fire trucks had to come to bring people out like that year. And I remember Doug still had to go to work. No one else had to. The L wasn't going. The buses weren't going. He had to like walk to get there because he was trading Brazilian interest rate futures and like their markets weren't closed.
I remember that.
So they still had to get there. And it's just like that makes you so unhappy. Like it's such a small thing, but it really, or like it feels small sometimes, like the weather, but it really isn't. Like the waking up every single day and with my windows open, like our windows are open. We don't have an air conditioner or a heater. Like our house is just always like 70 degrees pretty much. Right now it's like 72. And just like to always be able to go outside and eat your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner every single day and work outside. That was something that was like, it wasn't just a pro on my list. It was like, felt almost essential.
Yeah, priority.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think, but I do think like, make a pro con list for yourself. But there were some things that were cons that I didn't really know how big of a con they were going to be. Like we don't really have a huge friend network here like we did when we were in Chicago. We have a couple friends, sure, but like nothing like we had. And so that's been really hard for me. And it's like, there was a big period of time, probably about like 6 months, where I was really unhappy here, even just because I like miss my friends so much and stuff like that. And I think that overall, I still would have recommended, like, I still am glad we made the decision we made, but I should have considered that maybe slightly more. Like, it's hard to make friends as an adult. You can't just like, oh, I'll just like join a canoe club or something and like make a bunch of friends. You probably won't do that.
Yeah.
Even if you're good at friends, which I think that I am, and I still haven't done that good of a job. So
yeah. So maybe even just like looking at all the different areas of your life, like environment, friends, relationships, job, career, happiness, and making a pro con list based on that and based on like what's most important to you and what's bringing you down the most and what's lifting you up the most, and then figure out how you can change to kind of like even it all out.
Right. Yeah, I would say that is exactly right. And like areas too, if you think like, oh, eating out each week or whatever is something that makes me really happy, like really think about if it really is. Because if you like hated your job so much and you're like, oh, I need that job to pay for all these other things. Like I love golfing. I don't know, whatever. And I need to pay for my golf membership and I need to pay for like eating out once a week. And I love my new car and I need to make the payments or whatever. Think about like, do you hate your job more than you love those things or not? Because if you actually love those things more than you hate your job, then try and be happy with your job because it's giving you the life that you want.
Yeah.
Or like just like shift your perspective a little bit, I guess I would say, because you are making it there.
Yeah.
or cut out some of the things that you like. And then, I don't know, you just might have to shift some things around.
Yeah.
But nothing's perfect. I think a lot of people think like, oh, Kate and Doug, they moved to Hawaii. Like their life is great. Like it's very stressful. I work all the time. I work 7 days a week, usually, maybe like half day off. Yes, I can make my own vacations all the time or like whenever I want to, but then I have to work at night. Like Doug gets home from work at 5 and then I have to work until like 8 to finish up all the things I need to finish up so that I can leave. Like the work is all on me.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're not successful, which sometimes we're not, and when we lose money, which sometimes we do, that's like only my fault.
Yeah.
There's no one else be like, oh, well, so-and-so, messed up the project. Like, no, it's all on you. And so you need to be ready to face your failure, I think, because you will fail sometimes. And I think that can be really hard because like for me, for my whole life, I don't think I ever really had like a real failure until starting this job or starting this farm. Like overall, I think the farm is doing well, but do you know what I mean? Like certain things, certain aspects of it have certainly been failures, and you need to embrace that and just be like, well, this is a learning experience. And, I'm not always going to be great at everything I do.
Yeah, that mindset shift has been really tough for me because it's like we both were like really smart. We went to a great school. It's like we, I was a double major, you're a triple major.
It's hard, like, you get a 4.0.
Yeah, you get used to succeeding, and it's like it's easy to start to believe that you're just going to be good at everything you do, and if you're not, then you are a failure. And so it's like kind of like a reality check when you hit the real world and you're just kind of like, oh, well, sometimes failure is a part of life and that's okay. And it doesn't mean that your self-worth is damaged. Yeah, especially with stuff that you have no control over, like a farm. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's like that part's really heartbreaking if it's like the weather or something like that, we had some horrible flooding last year where we lost like hundreds and thousands of dollars. Wow. Like 700 trees were ripped up and all this stuff, and we didn't have the right insurance because I didn't research the right insurance that we're supposed to have first. So it was like my fault. Like we lost a lot of money and it was like 100% my fault. But sometimes you just have to be like, I'm not perfect, and
you're still here and you're still alive. Yeah.
I mean, everything's fine. And I still have all the things that matter. Like I still have my dogs and my husband and a house, a roof over my head and food to eat. And, it's like, even if like our farm was to go bankrupt and we were to lose it all, we wouldn't lose our home. You know what I mean? We'd still live here in Hawaii and own a house. If our farm goes bankrupt, that's an important thing for people who are starting their own business, sort of different than yours. Maybe, I'm not sure, but make sure you're structuring an LLC so that your assets are separate from your, or a corporation, I guess, if you wanted to be that, but something where your assets are separated from your personal assets, your business assets you do not want to let creditors or anybody, like if we've stopped making our payments and they need to seize our tractor, they can seize our tractor, but they can't seize our house because
that's yours. Because of that. Yeah. And this is where your law background comes in handy because all the legal structures of like setting up a business.
Yeah, that was helpful when we were first setting up the business. Nowadays it doesn't as much, but
Well, you can work hard and do hard things. So So what's your vision or like your 3 to 5 year plan for the farm? What would you love to see happen?
I'd really like us to start selling more coffee and for coffee to be our main.
Because it takes a really long time. It took you a few years to grow the plants into beans, right?
Right, exactly. So we started out with just ground. We had to get bulldozers to come. They came and like smoothed a lot of things and then took out like a lot of like hedges and bushes and stuff that was there. It's called grubbing. And then we had to plant rows and like all the coffee. We had coffee, it was like nursery. They were all about, I don't know, like a foot tall or something, trees. We had to plant all the coffee got planted, put in like irrigation systems, all this stuff. And then after that is 2.5 years until the first harvest. So during that time when we were really trying to figure out the other revenue streams, like I was saying, like we were doing all these vegetables and we were selling the farmers market and we like were building more and more customers, like a bigger and bigger business around that. But the whole time I was kind of like, it was really nerve-wracking because I knew that our main business plan was to sell coffee. And like, it's very difficult to pave the way for yourself to be able to sell that coffee before you have it, because you can't send out samples. You can't really make connections really with roasters because they want to know, like, what's your coffee taste like? You know, how much is it going to cost? All this stuff that you can't know until you have your first harvest. So that was really hard. It wasn't until last year, like November, that we actually had coffee to sell. And we initially sold quite a bit because it was like right before Christmas, and all of our family and friends have been waiting like 3 years to buy coffee. So finally they were all like buying coffee. Everyone's buying coffee. We were selling a ton. February came and we just stopped selling coffee. And we're like, oh crap. And I don't have any background in marketing. I was just kind of like, oh, well, how hard can it be? Like, I'll just post ads on Facebook and try and build a following, like on Instagram or something. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, because it is not easy. You know, like, we still have some of last year's coffee left. We sold almost all of it, but not all of it. And this year's coffee, like in 2 days, I'm going to be picking up our first, I'm going to be picking up 2,000 pounds from the mill. So I'll have so much, that's so much coffee. We don't even have space for it in our coffee storage area because I haven't been selling it fast enough. So it's kind of like, that is the biggest challenge right now. You know, thankfully coffee has a very long shelf life. It's not like going to go bad at any point. I'm unroasted coffee. Roasted coffee does have a shelf life for those of you who buy your coffee roasted. I imagine is most of you. But green coffee doesn't really have much of a shelf life. Like, you can have it for a couple of years if stored properly. So I'm not too worried about the fact that we still have some left, but I am a little bit worried because we have not enough sales. Like, our sales are consistently going up and up and up, but even at our current sales trajectory, we will not sell all our coffee. So and we have to sell it all in order to turn any kind of profit, which we have not turned a profit yet in all of our years of being in business because we didn't have coffee to sell. And that was our plan. It wasn't a problem, but we knew we weren't going to turn a profit until 2016, 2017. So that's this year. We knew that we wouldn't do it until this harvest season, but now it's here. And so I'm like, okay, well, we have to turn a profit.
Make it happen. Yeah. Now you have to learn how to be a marketer.
I know, which is I'm still farming. So, we have the event tonight and I'm going to go pick our flowers and do that stuff. And, I have to thin my carrots later, and Doug is coming home to mow the coffee fields after work and stuff. So it's never ending. Yeah. Cause I can work on the computer, quite a bit to do our marketing, but anytime I'm sitting here working on that, I'm not doing the other things. So it's it's really a trade-off of time.
Yeah.
We're at a really hard spot right now, but it's good. It just means we have to hustle. It's
exciting. It's I say new levels, new devils. And it's okay, you've reached the point you've been working to get to for 2.5 years, 3 years. And so now it's okay, now what? You have to grow into the next level. So so
law school for me, all those years of law school I was working, and then I was finally a lawyer, and I was like, oh crap, now I have to have no, not even have a job, have clients and help people, you're relying on me. And that's the way that I feel now with the coffee. It's all these years I was a coffee farmer, we were growing coffee. There were fields of coffee out there, but it's not until now that it's it's really the rubber is not the road. We got to sell the coffee. We have the coffee to sell.
So what makes your coffee special and amazing, and why should we all buy it?
Well, okay. So Kona coffee, our coffee on my farm, specifically where it sits in Kona, is shade grown. It's at a high elevation, which makes it really smooth. It's super low bitters for people who like cream and sugar in their coffee, which I do. This is a coffee that you can drink black, which is really appealing to a lot of people who are always just latte people or whatever. Coffee's too bitter for them. I would say if our coffee was a beer, it would be a brown ale or a Belgian maybe. It would not be an IPA. It doesn't have a lot of bitter notes. It doesn't have a lot of high acid. It's just very smooth, very drinkable. It's almost chocolatey. It's really great. So I think that is partially why you should buy our coffee. But the other reason you should, and this would apply to all farms in Hawaii, is that Kona coffee, or in Hawaii coffee in general, there's some other places besides Kona here that grow coffee, but not many, is the only coffee grown in the first world. So all other coffee that you buy is grown either in a second or third world country. Our coffee, to put it in perspective a little bit for you, our coffee labor costs in 1 pound of coffee for us is about $14 a pound. That's like for our labor and also like and somewhat, like fertilizer and stuff like that. But that's in our irrigation and stuff. But $14 a pound is basically the cost of our green coffee. That would mean like if we sold it for $14 a pound, we would break even. Maybe even $15 a pound. Other places in the world, their break-even price is around like $1. Well, for fair trade coffee, it's about $1.50. That's fair trade. Below that, there's like a lot that's like between like the 25 to 75 cent range, honestly. And that would be like what you would be getting like in Folgers or something like that. A really nice coffee shop, in Chicago, there'd be like Intelligentsia or something. Their coffee is going to be about $4 to $6 a pound for green, typically, which they're paying their farmers a good price at that price. But, that's still 1/3 of the price. Well, that's what they're paying their farmers. Like we charge, 19 to 22, depending on what grade of coffee for our green. And so it's a quarter of the price for even like the coffee that's doing it right as far as labor worldwide. And so when you buy something from a Hawaii farm, that you're supporting fair agricultural practices. Like our coffee pickers, they live here. They earn a living wage. They get workers' compensation insurance, total disability. They have regular health insurance, all the benefits. Their kids go to school in our town. Like they go to Hulualoa Elementary School, which is like just down the road. They are getting all the benefits of living in America. And they also are getting paid to live there. As opposed to like other coffee farms, it's nearly indentured servitude in places in the world. And so the main thing you're really supporting, I would say, when you support Kona coffee in general, is fair labor practices. When you support our farm in general, you're also supporting like an entrepreneur that you like, I hope, and a small family business, which not all of the farms here are. Some of them are owned by big corporations. Some of them, their entire coffee is bought like by Starbucks or a huge roaster, so they aren't trying to like hustle to sell like 1 pound or 2 pounds of coffee like we are. They're just selling hundreds of pounds of green on big pallets, and then they're just done with it. And there are even other farms here who just sell their cherry to like big conglomerates who mix it into like a Kona blend that you'll get at, I don't know, Whole Foods or something. So there's lots of different ways to buy Kona. I would say that our model is going to be the best for the farmer. Because it cuts out middlemen who are taking a lot of the profit off the top for the farmers. So even if you don't buy from us, I would love it if your readers and listeners supported Kona coffee in general, just because, it's just like supporting American made clothes or cars or anything else. Like, that you're supporting a business that is employing a lot of people and is employing them legally and, with fair labor standards. And I think that hopefully should mean something to you.
I think it does, especially in this day and age, and that's so cool. So it's like, you can look at the price tag and compare it to what you get at Jewel or the supermarket and be like, oh, well, that's expensive. But really, you're not, first of all, you're paying for better coffee, but most of all, it's kind of a social justice issue. And it's this bigger picture of supporting supporting people and supporting farmers and workers and just local. Like, this is as local as you get with coffee in terms of the U.S. Yeah.
Right. I think that, you hear a lot about like fair trade coffee or fair trade chocolate, and you'll go to a store and something will say like, oh, it's sustainably sourced or responsibly sourced or something. And like, maybe it is, I don't want to say that those places aren't doing that necessarily, but there's just such a supply chain. Whereas like, if you're buying from us or you're buying from another farm near us or in Hawaii, that the supply chain is literally like from my field to the mill where we mill it, then to our house where I roast it, and then to the post office to you. There's not like oh, this farmer sold it to this person, to this person, to this person. Then they mixed it in a mixture. Then they sold it to an importer. Then the importer sold it to a coffee distributor. Then they sold it to a roaster. It's like, you don't really know if people were suffering to make your coffee.
Yeah. Which is scary. That kind of probably goes for anything. It's kind of like
I mean, yeah, that is the case for so much stuff. I mean, certainly like clothing. Yeah, certainly clothing and chocolate and stuff. And honestly, like, I still buy clothes from Old Navy and Forever 21, and probably I shouldn't. But also, it is very difficult to know the supply chain on all of those things. But I'm making it easy for you here.
Yeah, and what we can do, we can't save the entire world by ourselves, but what we can do is make empowered choices when we can and when we do know that there is an option. Right. Yeah, and so here's a great option. Here's a great opportunity. So speaking of which, how can we buy your coffee, or where can we find you and Sunshower Farms?
You can get our coffee at sunshowercoffee.com. Sunshower is the name of our farm. It's like it is when it's raining, and it's also sunny still outside, which is something that happens in Hawaii all the time. That's why we're the Rainbow State. So yeah, we're Sunshower Farms, and sunshowercoffee.com. You can buy it there. And then you can use the coupon code Anna Maria Locke, all one word, to get 15% off. And we have free shipping over $100. So if you do spend over $100, we have some really good gift packs. Anna got one of ours to try out. And it has like a lot of stocking stuffer sizes. So if you want like a small gift to give to people, those are just $5 each. And you can try a sample of our coffee and see if you like it, try different roasts, or, give it out as gifts. It certainly is, I think, a cute gift.
Yeah, definitely. And we all love coffee. Who doesn't love coffee? So awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. Yeah, right. Someone. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for sharing your story, Kate. It was super cool for me to hear more. We don't talk a lot anymore because you are on the other side of the Pacific. But yeah, I'm really excited to try out your coffee and start having a coffee, special personal coffee distributor. And yeah, best of luck with everything.
A source of coffee.
Yeah, and I know we'll chat soon. And everyone else, go visit sunshowercoffee.com, and we can find you on social media under Sunshower Coffee. Sunshower Farms. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll link everything and cool. I'll put all your links. Okay, Instagram, Facebook. I'll put all your links. I'm also going to be doing a giveaway of some coffee if you're watching this in December of 2016. We don't know how long this video is going to survive on the internet, but super excited to get your coffee out into the world. Yeah. So yeah, thanks so much, Kate.
All right. Thank you.